Welcome to day 7 of our video advent calendar, and I have my book all ready to open for my ornament today. We're also going to see what Lucy's been up to, and I'm going to share with you one of my favorite Christmas traditions. This tradition we've had in my family since I remember, and my mum and I have been making these every Christmas. We do it every year. It's one of those, like I say, one of my favorite traditions. So I'm going to show you what they are and how I make them in just a bit. But let's first see what ornament I have today in my book. Let's see. Oh, this one, these ones are really pretty. And I, again, like my, the star we had the other day, these ones I love because they just have this beautiful shimmer to them, and when you put them on the tree, they just everything sparkles and it looks magical at night. So I'm going to put this on my Christmas tree, and let's go see what Lucy has been up to today. Today Lucy's been enjoying some marshmallows over the fire. So these are one of my favorite Christmas traditions, and they are chocolate Christmas puddings. And we make them every year. They're kind of a family tradition, and they're really, really yummy, especially for people like me who love chocolate. And I'm gonna show you how I make them today. So I don't know about you, but I have my trusty cookbook. Now I've had this, it's actually a binder. And over the years, all my favorite recipes have ended up in here. And I tend to, some of them are handwritten, some of them are typed, and I put them in these plastic sleeves so they don't get messy, because when I'm cooking, I always seem to get something on my book. So this is one of my favorite Christmas traditions, because it's something that my mum and I have made for years and years and years. And it's really, really, really simple, but tastes delicious and looks really good. So the first thing we're going to do is I use McVities Digestive Biscuits. Now this is the English coming out in me, because these are English. You can buy them in Walmart here. So they're pretty easy to get hold of. But I find that I've tried substituting other cookies. We call them biscuits in England, and it just doesn't work the same. So for me, I will always use McVities Digestive Biscuits because I think it just works better. So we're going to open that up, and we're actually going to crush these. So what I use is I just use a Ziploc bag, and I'm actually going to just measure out my amount. So I'm going to tip them into here until I have the right amount, which is 8 ounces. See, yep, that's 8 ounces. So my first step is to smash these. Now this is where it gets really fun. Because you can really get rid of some pent-up energy and frustration. Because you can whack them, which would be very nice. I tend to just roll them. So I use my rolling pin, and I just roll the cookies in the bag until they all turn into kind of crumb. Now you don't want it kind of completely crumb, so it's just powder. It's kind of nice to have some pieces, but I tend to just do it so that most of the big pieces are kind of smashed up into a nice kind of crumb that will work really well. So that's step 1. So we're going to put those aside for now. Step 2 is to get our chocolate mixture. So I'm going to use my pan, and I'm just going to put all the other ingredients except for the cocoa powder in here. We're going to melt it down, and then we add the cocoa, and then we add the cookies. So very, very simple. So we've now got our butter, our golden syrup, and our sugar in our pan, and we're just going to melt this down on the stove. Once the butter, the sugar, and the golden syrup is all melted, we're now going to add in our cocoa. So we're going to put 3 tablespoons of cocoa in. a little bit extra maybe, just to make it a bit more chocolatey. And then we're going to mix that round to make a nice chocolatey yumminess. If you like chocolate, you're going to love this, trust me. And then we take our cookies or our biscuits that we pour them all into our chocolate mixture. And then we mix, and we're going to coat all that biscuit in the lovely chocolatiness, or chocolate, not sure that's a word. We're going to put chocolate all over the biscuits. And what you're going to end up with is this wonderful mix of biscuit covered in chocolate. And it's just scrummy. So once it's all mixed, you're actually going to let it cool, because we're going to now form those into balls so they look like Christmas puddings. So I'm going to just put this in the fridge just for 15-20 minutes just to let it cool down. And then once it's cool, we're going to form it into the Christmas pudding shape. So now the mixture has been cooling a little bit in the fridge. It's a little bit more set. So it's easier to take, I just use a teaspoon and I just take some out and I'm going to roll it into a ball so it looks kind of like a Christmas pudding shape. So you can see here that I'm just going to roll it in my hands. So to make the holly icing for the top, I actually use this rollout fondant, and I buy it in red and green just for simplicity. I mean, obviously you can always make your own fondant, but I don't really have time for that, to be honest. And you're gonna obviously I usually cut a piece off. I lightly dust my surface with some icing sugar so that it's not gonna stick. And then I have a very small fondant rolling pin that I use for my cake decorating. But to be honest with you, you can roll it out with whatever rolling pin you have. You just kind of, obviously, like I said, just with any other rolling, you don't want it to stick to the rolling pin. But we basically want to roll out some green so we can make some of the leaves. And I have a leaf cutter, which is just designed for icing, and it just cuts the leaf out. But obviously if you don't have one of these, you can just cut round to make it look like a leaf. The pop of green on the top of the pudding will look great regardless of whether you actually have a leaf cutter or whether you're cutting it yourself. So once I have my green icing rolled out, I'm just going to cut out my leaves. And then the final piece is to make the red berries that are going to go with the leaves. And again, I'm just using red fondant. I just break off a piece and I'm just going to make them into small little berries. Just to go with the leaves on the top of our, you see that, oh, it's running away, it's escaping. Just tiny little berries, red berries that are going to go on the top of the Christmas puddings. And the final step is to add some white icing on the top of the pudding so it looks like that traditional Christmas pudding where it was dripping down from the sides of the pudding. So I just use icing sugar and a very, very, very small amount of water. If you make it too runny, it will just run off. So I always go with a slightly thicker consistency because it'll have a little bit of a run, but it won't just pour off. So what I tend to do is I just put that on the top. So now it's time to make them look pretty. So I'm just going to use a couple of my leaves. And there you have it, chocolate Christmas puddings, delicious. I'm going to go and enjoy one of these with a nice cup of tea, and I'll see you tomorrow on our next Advent calendar day.